You're listening to Live from the Heartland Show, and I'm Michael James. I'm here with Katie Hogan and
Ali Naguib. Naguib. Okay.
Well, you're one of the prominent activists in the local or the Illinois NORML chapter.
That's right. I'm the assistant director, yes.
Why don't you give us a little bit of report? Give us the reefer report. What's going on at the most local level here in Chicago, all the way on up through Colorado and Washington to Istanbul or wherever it may be?
To the Super Bowl being played by 2 reefer-free states. Woo!
That's right. Like that.
So on the local level, the latest news this week is that the Chicago City Council and the Zoning Committee are looking at an ordinance to allow them to regulate the new medical cannabis businesses, the cultivation centers and dispensing
God, I can't think of a body I'd rather less have their hands on pot than the Chicago City Council.
Well, the good thing about the law is it does allow limited ability of the local governments to control these businesses. They're not allowed to completely ban them, but through their zoning authority, they do have some control over where they'll be able to locate. So they have to provide reasonable accommodation for these businesses, assuming that the areas in these communities meet the standards laid out in the law.
So, Ali, have you heard what, like we did this week, from a couple of our fellow citizens and activists, that what the city council is proposing with those dispensaries is that they only be located in certain areas that are industrial
manufacturing zones,
manufacturing
M1, M2, M3,
zones. And we've got, for example, a guy who would be one of the customers for medical marijuana, truly, and raising the question of why should people have to travel so far and into possible neighborhoods that are not safe to get their medicine? Why can't they go to?
And what does it say about their view of the law?
Right.
Sure. And
try to mitigate against it being effective.
And there's definitely been a lot of pushback on that. At the committee hearing the other day, there was pushback both from patients that testified as well as some of the aldermen who clearly don't feel that a manufacturing district is appropriate for a dispensary.
Okay.
A cultivation center, that may be appropriate.
Right.
Even patients, the only people that are going to be accessing those are the staff of those businesses. But the dispensing organizations are open to the patients, and patients should have reasonable access to those locations.
So we have a situation where 2 states now have legalized recreational use of marijuana, and we in Illinois finally passed a medical marijuana bill. But correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that this medical marijuana bill really makes it difficult for very many people who might need it and benefit from the substance to sign up. It's like really a restrictive law.
It is definitely, if not the most restrictive, certainly one of the most restrictive laws of its type in the country. We now have 20 states, maybe now 21 with New York, the governor seeming to take some executive action, plus D.C., that have passed some type of medical cannabis law. And Illinois is definitely very restrictive. So it is also very robust. It was designed to withstand some of the criticisms that were being dealt both from people looking at the situations in California and Colorado and seeing it as chaos, which we don't see it as, but other people see it that way. But also the response from the federal government in terms of the guidelines for which of these businesses, dispensaries, cultivation centers they were tending to go after with federal prosecutions and which ones they were tending to leave alone. So the law was written in a very detailed way to try to make it as least likely that there will be federal, to make it at least likely there will be a federal intervention. But there's no question that it's a small step. It's going to take a lot of steps forward. There are already multiple bills pending before the General Assembly that have been introduced to further amend it, to add additional conditions. A new bill was just introduced, Senate Bill 2636. Which would add epilepsy and as well allow for minors with epilepsy to access and become qualified patients.
For whom it has shown great promise.
That's right.
I still, once again, and first I was castigating the city council, now I'm going to say, what would the General Assembly, how would they ever recognize chaos in another state? I'm just wondering.
Well, and
Just wondering.
The other thing I point out when people talk about the chaos in California and Colorado is the one group of people who doesn't see it as chaos is the citizens of those states.
Clearly.
Colorado had a medical cannabis law in the books going back to 2000. They looked at what happened in California. They did put in more regulations on their system than what they put in California, which was basically none. And that had a big impact on how the industry grew and how the public perceived it. And that led to a vote in 2012 where more citizens of Colorado voted for legalizing cannabis for adults, for amending their constitution to do that, than voted for President Obama or any other elected official for any statewide office in the history of the state.
The people want their pot, man.
How come we can't get it on the ballot? I mean, I was in touch with a state rep who I have a lot of respect for about why don't we just go for legalizing it? And this person basically said that a couple of the state legislators were talking about some incremental steps as a better tactic. Why can't we get petitions out there, and what's the process by which?
Have you been to Springfield lately?
not since
right.
last year.
I will tell you that is definitely the second most common question we get at Illinois NORML. The most common question is, of course, do you have any free samples? But that being the second most important question and the most important in terms of Illinois politics is that we effectively do not have a meaningful ballot initiative process in Illinois. There is a process to amend the Constitution, but it is a very limited ability it can't be used really for things like this the way it was used in other states. So it's the nature of the way our state constitution is set up. I fully encourage anybody who is unhappy with the state of our constitution in Illinois that it doesn't allow for things like citizen ballot access, both in terms of passing laws and initiatives as well as the access for candidates. I fully support those efforts to reform our Illinois Constitution.
Very good point, Ali Naguib.
You know, I was thinking recently, what's going on at the borders around Colorado and Washington? Are the police on the other states? Is there an increase in arrests of people?
You mean is it like fireworks in Wisconsin and Indiana?
Same idea. I'm wondering what's going on. If we have any indication, because it would seem to me plenty of people would buy recreational smoke in Colorado and try to take it into another state. And I just wonder what the traffic incidences and what the rate
Everybody
of
knows
busts are.
pot smokers are very safe drivers compared to other imbibers.
I think it's too early to tell. I think these programs of really commercialized cannabis for all adults is pretty much only a few weeks old, and in Washington it isn't even rolled out yet. Those surrounding states have definitely made it clear that they are going to try to stop it. We'll see how successful they are. The federal government has also, in the Justice Department memos that were put out, that basically said, we're going to tolerate this for now, given these guidelines. One of those criteria where they said they would intervene is in the case of interstate transport. So I think it's too early to tell, and it remains to be seen.
When a young Senator Obama came to this particular stage when he was running for the federal Senate.
I asked him about growing it.
Michael James did approach him. What is the presidential? What is his position? Michael asked me to ask this question. I actually think the president.
Ask whatever you want.
The president should have nothing to do about this. Everybody else should be doing it.
But he basically said he didn't think it was any worse than alcohol.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of people have taken note. It's all over the news, et cetera, et cetera. You have people on public television taking backward positions on it. What's his name? The guy from the New York Times, Brooks.
Yeah, David Brooks.
He was terrible. So what's your sense on the president's statement and what's going on?
Well, maybe on the national debate about it.
I think it's clear the national debate has shifted significantly. We now see consistently not just pluralities but majorities in national polls on this issue, not just talking about medical, where we've seen large majorities of 60, 70, 80% for years, or decriminalization, where we also see similar large majorities. We now see 52, 55, 58% sometimes in these polls nationally for completely changing the way we regulate cannabis and allowing adults to purchase, possess, and consume it responsibly.
Well, NORML has done a great job of staying on the case all these years. I want to congratulate NORML.
Well, thank you.
The National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws have been guesting at this program for as long as we've had this program.
That's the truth.
Because Michael insisted on a reefer report.
Well, I used to do a reefer report, and I'd get it off of the NORML news and what was going on in different states.
Yeah.
And now we're having live NORML people give the reefer report.
Well, we have, yeah.
It's a whole new world.
What's going on with NORML? You got about 30 seconds. What's happening? What do you want us to know?
So
How do we get a hold of you?
you can check us out at IllinoisNormal.org. That's Illinois, NORML.org. We have a lot of events going on, particularly in this spring session. We hold regular lobby days in Springfield. Our first one of the year will be next Wednesday, the 29th. We'll be down in the Capitol all day in Springfield. We have our table set up. We talk to the legislators. We get people, constituents, talking to their representatives about this issue. We have a number of other events throughout the spring as well. We'll be hosting the Global Cannabis March in Daly Plaza on Saturday, May 3rd.
Will that be a smoke-in?
No, it will not. We do focus on changing the laws, not breaking them. So we will be rallying and marching downtown.
So you don't do anything on 420?
Not usually. There are other people that host those events.
Okay. We'll keep track of that.
Well, we want to thank you for coming on the show,
Thank
and
you
we'll
so
have you
much,
back.
Ali.
A round of applause for Ali Naguib.
And NORML.
We will be back next week with another exciting lineup of guests. This is Michael James with Katie Hogan, thanking all the people who make this show possible. We encourage you
Paul,
to do good
Mary,
in the
Dan,
world
Grant,
because the world
Nolan.
needs all the good that you do.
All power to the people.
Over and
Hal
out.
James. All right.